Redditors who live in holiday destinations, what's your most ridiculous dang tourist moment? I am an expat who lives in Amsterdam. Getting stopped for directions is pretty common in my area, but the best was the American accented lady who stopped me for directions very loudly and clearly. Directions were given, as well as thanks from the lady, who proceeded to say, by the way, your English is great, with the tone one reserves for small children and or mental patients. Thanks, I responded. I'm American. The best is that even Dutch people understand perfect English most of the time. I went there for a weekend a couple of years ago not knowing a word of Dutch, and yet there was basically no language barrier at all. My only difficulty was discovering that the trams don't stop unless you hit one of those buttons on the wall. Currently live in India, Sri Lanka. White people aka foreigners walking barefoot everywhere. Like Christ. I get you on your big Indian adventure, but put on some shoes. Have you seen how much crap is on the ground? That's how you get parasites. I live near the city of Wells in Somerset, famous for its lovely cathedral. Often you see tourists walking back to the coach muttering it's not a very big cathedral, and then you realize, from the direction they've walked, that they've actually been looking at St. Cuthbert's Church at the bottom of the city, instead of the cathedral at the top. Worked at a ski area in Western NC and had a lady from Florida ask me what we did with all the snow in the summertime. Told her we trucked it all into a refrigerated cave and she bought it. It sounds completely reasonable if you don't think about it at all. Coastal Maine checking in. People lose their crap over lobsters and shell out TNS of money for anything with a lobster on it. Cheap shot glass. A cheap shot glass with a lobster stuck on it. I'll give you $7.75 for it. Lollipop. Whatever. Lollipop shaped like a lobster. Definitely worth $5. Better get one for each kid back home. Normal pullover hoodie. Boring. Hoodie with a motherfucking lobster embroidered on it at $50 a piece? Oh my god, just take my money. Same goes for anything with a moose on it in Maine. Or anything with a lighthouse beach. A woman wandering around Penn Station shouting angrily into her cell phone that I don't understand why the fricking guidebook told me to come here to Grand Central. This place is goddamn hideous. New Orleans checking in. I suppose it's not the worst thing ever, but the elevator in the parking garage I use for work had clearly been peed in since yesterday. Also, during Mardi Gras, the garage management hangs up "please don't pee in the lobby" signs. Sigh. New Orleans service industry checking in. I constantly get asked about the 9th Ward, Katrina tours, how many people died, etc. PLZ stop. I live in Taos, NM. As well as being a ski destination, there is a really old, still inhabited, pueblo. Lots of Native American people here, and being NM, we get lots of Texans in the summer. My native friend is a river rafting guide and shared this gem with me. She was on a raft with a family, mom, dad, teenage son and daughter. Friend points out a bighorn sheep up ahead. Everyone starts freaking out. Texan mom, so since there's game, do you ever see the Indians hunting out here? Friend, excuse me? Texan mom, like, the Indians, they still live out here, right? Teenage daughter, realizes my friend is native. Mom. Texan mom, what? I'm just asking. Friend, actually, most of us just go to the grocery store. Texan mom, wow, you're an Indian? Your English is like, almost perfect. Teenage daughter, mom. At least you know the daughter is uncorrupted. Not a specific tourist destination, but I'm always amused by Europeans who can't comprehend how big Canada is. I'll be in Niagara or Toronto, and they'll ask for directions to Whistler. You're gonna want to go west for a long time. Like an hour? 2 hours? Try a week. When my family was in Scotland, we met a family planning to travel to the US for a week. We asked where they were visiting and they planned to start in New York and drive across the country to Los Angeles, hitting all the major sites in between. Let me reiterate, they planned to be in the US for a week. We tried and failed to convince them this was not going to work. Live in a ski town adjacent to Yellowstone National Park. People have asked, at what elevation do the deer turn into elk? Where do the muggles go in the summer? My favorite was when I worked at a lodge right in front of the Tetons during wildfire season. Can't you guys turn off the smoke? It's ruining my view and we paid way too much for this vacation and I can't even see the mountains. Yes lady, it's all one big TV screen in front of our hotel. I lived in the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland for a while, and on my bus commute home, I overheard an American woman trying to figure out if it was the correct bus to get her to the village where I lived, but she didn't know Italian, and was holding up the line. So, just to be nice, I offered to translate for her, and solved her problem. She didn't say thank you and sat down for the ride. When we arrived, we started walking up the hill from the bus station next to each other, and I asked, so, where are you from? And why are you visiting my tiny village? She responded, I don't talk to strangers, and sped up. I just laughed at her and replied, what? Are you a 7-year-old little girl? I just helped you on the bus back there, and now you're being rude to me. No response. I used to live in Vienna and my sister and I would lie in the grass in a park in front of a big, famous castle, Schloss Schönbrunn, and somehow a group of Asian tourists starts to take photos of us. I don't live in a holiday destination as much as a retiree destination. From October through May the traffic is freaking terrible. On my way to work this morning, I was cut off no less than 6 times and just over a mile by some old guy, handicap placard hanging from the rear view mirror, out of state plates, no clue as to where he was going or how to maintain a freaking lane. I hate snow bad season so freaking much. Last year I watched in amazement as one turned into a parking lot, realized she had turned too early, then proceed to drive on the sidewalk until she got to her turn. Seeing people drown pretty much all the time. You never learned to swim, and you want to go jump in the ocean? Ever heard of a riptide, dummy? Used to live in a very popular destination for exotic vacations. The one time that we'll always remember is the time I went to the local shopping mall and eavesdropped into a conversation with Asians showing safari pictures. They were showing pictures of them holding lion cubs. They were explaining how they saw baby lions without their mother and decided to get out of their car and picked them up for pictures. I cannot believe how stupid some people are. I live in a beach town just north of San Diego, so during the summers it's flooded with tourists. A Chinese family came into my restaurant, bypassing the 30 minutes wait we had and sitting at a dirty table, but that's a different story, and asked me if I knew how the traffic would be going north because they wanted to go to San Francisco for the afternoon. They were flabbergasted when I told them that would take at least 6-8 hours. But I thought it was only 3 cities up the coast. California is freaking big, people. Frick, it can take 2-3 hours to get into SF from San Jose. Some lady parked her car in front of our house, took out bunch of art supplies, and started painting a canvas of one of the old outbuildings. My place is on a scenic byway so we see lots of summer tourists, but that was different. I mean, the house is right there. She could have maybe walked up and said hi or something first. We also frequently get tourists stopping in the road during the summer to take photos of the deer and elk in the backyard apple trees. We wave from the back porch. Once my mom called me saying there were a ton of people out in the garden and she was about to call the cops. It turned out my grandma had answered a door while visiting and told someone they could have their wedding in my parents' yard, and then she went home and never said anything about it. I live in one of the most boring states in America, but every year more and more people keep coming down for our beaches and tax-free shopping. No, I will not give you 3 gallons of free water ice so you can throw your daughter's birthday party in our tiny store. Get your 20 kids off my counters and out of my spoon cup. I don't care if the ice cream place on the boardwalk gave you a free milkshake. I hate tourists. Don't even get me started on the driving. Worst part about living in Delaware is everyone from out of state. Philadelphia is not small. All those landmarks you want to see, the Art Museum, the Liberty Bell, the Love Statue, Market Street, South Street, the Macy's store where Wanamaker was, Independence Hall, Pat and Jenna's Shitty's cheesesteaks, they have miles in between each other. You will not be able to walk that crap in a day. Also, Rocky wasn't real and that was a 20-mile montage that Sylvester Stallone ran. Good luck. We had a Japanese couple put their toddler on the back of a baby black bear that was mulling about on the side of the highway. Natural selection was unfortunately not invoked in this instance. I bet it was super freaking cute though. In Florida I was swimming at the beach and a stingray decided to hang out with everyone. It was there almost every day I went to the beach and never bothered anyone. This family started screaming and kicking around. Bad idea. Because of it. It was just chilling. Man. Leave it be. Not necessarily a holiday destination, but I worked in a wildlife rehab park inside a national park in Bolivia that is quite popular. On more than one occasion I was out walking private trails with our resident puma and I had tourists run through the barbed wire fences and keep out signs to get closer to her. Literally was only my quick reflexes that saved at least 5 people from death or serious injury. Wildlife parks should have disclaimers. If you get eaten, you probably deserved it. I live in a very rural, historic colonial area of New England. Every fall we get hordes of leaf peepers. That's slang for people from the city New York, Boston, etc., who come up north to look at all the pretty colors as the trees change. My town has one of the longest, oldest covered bridges in the country. It's still in use for road traffic and is one of the only bridges over the Connecticut for a few miles. The majority of leaf peepers assume because the bridge is old, it's a historical landmark and is open for exploration. So many times I'll try to cross that bridge only to stop before a group of 5-6 people freaking out because they just assumed it's for foot traffic. These same types of people, when they try to then cross that bridge with their cars after learning that's what it's for, will still almost cause accidents. It's an ancient wooden structure with minimal lighting and very narrow lanes. Tourists get nervous driving so close to the walls, so they drive down the middle and get stuck when confronted with oncoming traffic. TLDR. Historical structures that are still in common use bewilder and terrify people not familiar with this concept. Also, tourists will assume anything with a historical placard that isn't fenced off is fair game to climb all over. When I was a teenager, I worked at an airboat rental dock alligator park near the Everglades. We get a tour bus full of foreigners and Yankees coming in from Miami every couple of days during snow bad season. Had a freaking guy ask, hey, are we allowed to swim in the water, while he was standing in front of a 14-foot stuffed gator flanked by 4 6-foot water moccasin skins. We'd also get people who'd complain about the heat and the bugs. Like, holy freaking crap, you just came to the largest wetland in the country. What exactly were you expecting? My favorite was, can you turn down the fan? My children don't like the noise. Then don't sign up to take a ride on a boat that's propelled by a giant freaking propeller, you stupid kraut bee. God, I hate tourists. Detroit here. So annoying when huge groups of tourist families would line up to stare at litter and broken windows. Move along, people. I've got drugs to peddle. I work at an beach, and people always complain about the seaweed that washes up. And they believe me when I say that there's a seaweed filter in the jetty, which is a formation of huge rocks jetting out into the ocean to collect sand on one side, and that it was broken and it, instead of sucking the seaweed in, it's shooting it out, and the part that would fix it comes from Japan and it's going to be fixed in 3 weeks. Tourists believe this every time. I find it super annoying when I see people parked on the side of the road trying to lure the bears closer to their cars with food. Even worse when we pull up and warn them not to and their response is, chill out bro, it's only a bear. Also, when people just decide to run up to baby deer and bother it, its mom is nearby and will go crazy. There's a reason why there are so many warning signs to not bother the wild creatures and to keep your distance. Oh, and littering. Take your dang food wrapper and put it in a trash can. Butthole. This is not only the animal's home but it's mine too, so show some respect. Okay, here are a few for Australia. 1. Swim between the flags. 2. Don't jump off that into the water. Yes, locals are doing it, but they've been doing it since they were 10. 3. Wear proper shoes. If you're going for a bushwalk, wear the right footwear. 4. You didn't just become a 4WD expert. Maybe don't drive there. 5. If you see a warning sign, follow it. Saw some people dip their kids into water at a beach which is notorious for jellyfish. Everyone else is wearing a stringer suit, except the 5-year-olds. Also, don't freaking fish there. There's a no fishing sign near my place. It's not to be a buzzkill. It's because the land near the water was used to produce Agent Orange. Those fish will kill you, slowly. Also wear sunscreen, cause if our animals don't kill you, the sun will. When I was 14, I worked for the Parks Commission in Niagara Falls. I've been asked a lot of dumb tourist questions during my time there, but there's two that really take the cake. Does the maid of the mist ride up the falls? Asked by a grown man. I could understand a 5-year-old child with no understanding of physics, but seriously no adult should ever ask that question. Which falls belongs to what country? Asked by a large Texan. I could tell by the accent and the huge belt buckle. I told him that the Horseshoe Falls was in Canada and the American and Bridal Veil Falls were in the US. No, he shouts back to me. The larger one belongs to the US because everything in the US is bigger. Okay, I squeaked out. He must have been looking for a fight. That Texas dude clearly doesn't know much about geography. Another NYC one. Walking to work one day and I hear shouts of, "Oh my god, is that Jay-Z? Get a picture quick." No, Midwestern tourists. That is not Jay-Z. That man looks nothing like Jay-Z. He's at least 150 pounds heavier than Jay-Z. Being a black dude in a Lambo doesn't automatically make him Jay-Z. It was probably Rick Ross. Grew up in a college town that had not one, but two colleges. Well, it was a JC but amounted to the same thing. Year before I graduated high school, the town is listed in Playboy's top 10 hottest cities. Go to sign up for classes at the JC and can't get any of my classes because douches from as far away as Maine, this is in California, are signing up for those classes. And let's not forget how bad the surf spots get in Septoct when everybody thinks they can surf. The spots get overcrowded and the cooks make the surf more dangerous. Just paddle over there and grab those crap waves while you learn to stand up. It's been over 15 years and I'm still salty as frick. I've always wanted to learn to surf but never have since I am afraid of being that guy. Crap man. IDK, what spots the locals got dibs on? I'm new, goddamn it. I live in a beach town. Worked at a convenience store as a teen. Had a French Canadian guy think 5 pounds bags of ice were free, and didn't get the concept that he had to pay for them, all while maintaining his exaggerated accent and speaking in broken English. He knew. He took English in high school. I live near Niagara Falls, and it seems like every time I go there are a couple people attempting to sit on, hang on, or even get past the guardrails for a better photo opportunity. IDK if they just don't realize how fast the water is actually moving or what, but I've had a panic attack for them every time I've seen this. I work as a ski lift operator in Aspen. Had this one dad let his kid take a whiz right in the middle of the lift line. Had to shovel more urine than expected that day. NYC, post 9/11. Walking past the ruins of the World Trade Center and some middle-aged women tourists are chatting and laughing and posing with the ruins of the WTC behind them for a group shot. I worked there and was lucky not to be in the building when it happened. I was just so infuriated that I yelled out, "It's not fricking Disneyland," and they lost their smiles. Have some decorum, tourists. And here's us next to 3,000 dead civilians. I saw an adult Chinese tourist help his child take a crap on the grassy area of a parking lot not too far from the main door entrance of a kid's toy store. This is just grim. I mean, even my cat understands that there is a specific little tray in our house where he is allowed to take a crap. Pumped gas in high school in a decently popular lake community. In the summertime everyone would stop for directions. I once had a couple say they were looking for a popular city in Delaware. They saw a sign for a town with the same name. Had to explain that they were literally 200 miles away and to just plug it into their GPS. They then got gas and argued with me cause they wanted to pump it on their own. I said no, and they called the police. 50 came, my uncle BTW, and told them that they were wasting his time. The guy argued and my uncle saw a pipe in their car. Found weed in car and arrested him. It was Saturday and he couldn't get out until Monday. Pretty funny crap. TL. DR. Use your GPS. If in jail, let the people pump your gas, and don't leave your pipe out in the car. It's not really a holiday destination, but I was at the Space Needle in Seattle and they wouldn't let me on the elevator to go down because Snooki from Jersey Shore was there. I got pee and told her she wasn't even a real celebrity, so then her bodyguards wanted to act all big because of my comment. Frick her and her show. I flew into a city on the same plane as the Commodores in the late 80s. The limo service I usually use to get home was reserved for their baggage. I had to wait over a half hour for the next available vehicle. I found out I rank below celebrity baggage on the social scale. Canadian Rockies. Tourists who pull over on the side of the road to get close-up pictures of bear cubs. Mama bear is nearby and is ready to reenact the Revenant with you. Ugh. Tourists from Europe and Asia who have no idea about how rugged nature can be. I live in a beauty spot 2 hours outside an Australian capital city. Australia is really big and wild. People, and just because you've caught a coach from a big city does not mean you can just wander around in the bush with stupid city shoes, no hat. WTF. The sun is the single most dangerous thing in our country, and no water, without telling anyone where you're going. It's just as easy to die in the bush 90 minutes from Sydney as we're way out in the outback. Did I mention Australia is really big? No, we can't fence off every dangerous cliff for you. Use some common sense. Oh, but don't climb over the fences that are there to save you from a slippery waterfall. Yeah, sorry about that UK tourists who died doing that to get a better picture. Don't start a long bush walk at 4 in the afternoon. Yeah, sorry about that UK family who had to spend all night in the bush. Sometimes we just lie in bed at night listening to the helicopters overhead searching for people. Did I mention we're 90 minutes by highway from a capital city? Yeah, and Australia is really big. And nice French lady who said you're going to take 2 weeks annual leave and drive around our island continent? Number. You're not going to do that. Working in beach tourist town. Tourist. Which way is the beach? Me. What beach are you trying to go to? Tourist getting angry at me for not immediately answering. Any beach, it doesn't matter. Me. Well, technically any direction you go you'll end up at a beach. Lived in DC and now in downtown Miami, so I've gotten used to tourists and don't really mind them. One incident does still stick in my craw. 8:30 AM. Japan Circle Station. I need to put 20 cents on my fare card. An entire troop of Boy Scouts are at all of the machines trying to figure them out like it's some sort of complicated puzzle. They were spread out throughout the entire room so that there wasn't a single open machine. I almost killed children that day. If you go to DC and are going to ride the metro and don't want to pee off locals. 1. If you have a big group, don't go during rush hour. 2. If you can't figure out the machines, just use one. 3. Stand on the goddamn right on the escalator. 4. Let people off before you get on. 5. Don't talk to me. You left off 3A. At the bottom or top of the escalator. Do not immediately stop and stand while you think about where you might want to go. Take 3 or 4 steps to clear the escalator for the people behind you. I live in England in a city that's about 150 miles from London, and tourists who end up here often seem perplexed at the fact that they are not in London. They don't seem to expect to see countryside. It has always annoyed me when I hear people say they've been on holiday in the UK only to find out they spent the entire time in inner London. Like FFS guys, go visit Stonehenge or Alton Towers or go get mugged in Blackpool. I live near Loch Lomond and had an American couple ask if I've ever seen Nessie in the Loch. Also, there's only one road in and out of the area coming from Glasgow, without taking a 2-hour detour, so you know that gets packed with absolute sea-towing boats every summer on the one warm day lol. I live in the Dominican Republic. This time of year is crazy with drunken tourists. I went to the grocery store in town, which was packed, and on my way back, saw a guy laying in the middle of the road. No one seemed concerned, and people were just swerving around him. I wasn't sure if he'd gotten hit, or what was going on. As I get closer, he stands up, and I see he has a bottle of rum in each hand. He takes a swig, yells WOOOHOOO, bounces off my car, and then stumbles off the road. I crap you not. 2 days later, at night, I went out to party a little. My buddy was driving my car, and he came inches from running over a different guy, passed out in the same dang spot, only this time, a couple guys ran out and dragged him off the road, and he had a bottle of rum in each hand. WTF. Had a group of American girls come into the university shop I was working at. They were over for a sport tournament I think and were staying in the dorms. One of them asks if she can use a traveler's check to pay for her item. Snack food and some trinkets. About £20. Okay, says the manager, and the girls pull out traveler's checks that are in dollars, not sterling. They then proceed to throw a massive hissy fit as you said we could use them. It had apparently not occurred to the girls, their parents or any of their chaperones that England and America had different currencies. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.